in the master's degree in English language at the Expro. He is working at Centro Regional de Enseñanza de Lenguas. Also, he is working at the Escuela Normal de Amecameca. He has worked with different courses, for instance, technology in education, English in preschool degree, a round of applause, and please, Mr. Bobana, you can start.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Could you let me to share the screen, please? Okay. So let me. Okay, can you see the presentation?
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay. So let's start talking about learning strategies in LT. And well, first of all, let me share some myths that, well, maybe have you ever listened this? Then maybe some comments about your students, maybe some comments about your students, that when you are in English session, when they have to do an activity, and well, one of your classmates said, "We have to do an English, teacher," and you're like, "Okay, I have to speak English at English class." Or, for example, this is for pre-service teacher that are at a normal school. I have to speak English class in I have to speak English in English class, and I'm the teacher. And well, I hate. Wait, please, can you? Well, the audience, tell me if have you ever listened or heard that one of your students mentioned one of these phrases or sentences?
I usually hear that like every semester, and usually at the beginning of the classes.
Well, okay, just a second. That okay. Teacher Alex, are you here? Are you there? Okay, just I'm having some troubles here. So give me a second. Okay.
You hear me?
Yes, having some troubles. Okay, just give me a second. Okay. Yeah. Well, sorry for the interruption. Yes. So here we have some. Some of the phrases that maybe our students. Why should I have to learn English, teacher, if I'm not going to study English? So that's one. Those are one of the factors, one of the comments that we listen as a teachers, and we try to don't worry, try to provide or try to give them the importance of English class. So this is something that I ask you for you teachers. I guess maybe you have had some of these problems. So have you ever talked to your students about the importance of English? What is the importance to learn the English for a long term? Somebody?
Can I?
Yes.
For example, I work with like technicians that will become one day engineers. So I always tell them about the importance of English in their careers, like how knowing English will give them a better salary, better education opportunities, like that.
Yes. So because nowadays there's a lot of degrees that requires a specific English level, at least B1, and some others like B2. So this is one of the problems, how to convince our students, or what kind of strategies can we use, for example, to let them know that, okay, it's not boring, because one of the, according what I have been asking during, when I was studying my practicum terms, even when I was working at secondary school. So one of the subjects that they don't like are mathematics and, in this case, English. So this is what we are going to check about these learning strategies. Okay, what can you implement? So let's continue. Now, here we have another. Here we have students, English classes using only grammar, and English class using LS. I mean, LS, like learning strategies, focus on students like an interest. So, one of the most common practice in the English sessions is grammar, okay? Another question for you, for the audience. Have you ever, do you practice another skills during your English lessons? Not only grammar, I mean. Teacher Marco, Lindsay.
Hi, sorry about earlier. I didn't know my speaker was on. But yeah, I think it's important to talk about it. I always when I hear some of the comments about the way if you're not gonna learn it, you're not gonna speak it, I always tell them that the second language, in this case English, will open new doors to them. Can we work, especially work, or maybe some scholarship to a different country. I had an experience when I was living in the US. I usually talk to immigrant students, and I tell them, because the main point of a lot of the immigrants are to speak it.
Okay, yes, absolutely. This is really, really important, and also the way that teach by the knowledge, because try to avoid that part. Okay, I know that the grammar answer is really important because it's the structure. However, there are some different ways that as a teachers even we can use in facilitate the learning process. Okay, so But Carcel in 1996 mentioned about some aspects that in this case learning strategy should be included. Remember that all these aspects are linked. So in order to facilitate this one, now here we have motivation, leads about learning, abilities and strategies, classroom interaction, new information, previous knowledge. So when usually the way that, one of the strategies is to apply a diagnostic test, okay? So taking into consideration this about the diagnostic test, we have a certain idea about what is the learning level about our students. However, it doesn't mean that, well, for example, if they may have knowledge about grammar, and maybe grammar could be the weakness skill. Okay, maybe they are good at speaking, maybe they are good at writing, reading. Okay? So we have to take into consideration this one. And well, motivation. Remember that not all the time in learning is input and input and input and input, providing all the structure, providing all. No, remember that motivation takes an important role here. Why? Because the way that we enter to the classroom, the way that as a teacher, so what kind of attitudes, what kind of vibe do we transmit? Because remember that since the very moment that we enter to the classroom, the way that we walk, the way that the move of the body language, so it transmits something to them, okay? Because, I have had the experience in this case that some students shy are confident. So here is where where motivation takes an important role. So we're going to check this in a while, but this is something that we're going to check. Okay, so classroom interaction, the interaction during the learning process. Okay, try to the fact that all the time teacher are speaking and talking and talking and talking and talking, and the students. So try to provide opportunities. So according to the chaos complexity theory, mentions about not in this theory, the opportunities are called affordances. So affordances means to provide this one and these opportunities during the learning process. So here we have. Okay. Is warranty success in learning. In this case, for recorded in 1981, that's the meaning of motivation in classroom. So there is more important than the specific abilities of language. So this is another question for the audience. Do you think that motivation is important? You can write or you can open your microphone.
May I?
Yes, of course.
Well, yes, motivation is a big issue because you can, once they're learning and they understand it and they, sometimes they talk to you back and they're like, see, you can do it. And I always tell them it's easy. And they're like, okay, yes, but they are understanding. And when I tell them to read or something, and I always tell them, you're doing good, it's great. So you can see their faces when they're just smiling because you tell them good things, and that's showing them that they can do it.
Yes, of course. Here it takes an important. And have you ever noticed a simple comment about job? Oh, this is a wonderful job. Oh, you did a great and amazing job. It causes impact in them. Okay, So this is related with effective strategies that, well, are one of the 6 strategies that we are going to check. So, but motivation here takes an important role. The way that we talk to our students, okay, our tone of voice, and or even our faces, because it's not the same if I am saying, okay, you have a wonderful and an amazing work, and obviously my face reflects, okay, that I'm really nice about your job. I really liked. But what if I say, oh, okay, yes, you're okay. So the student be like, okay, so I did it good, I did it well, I made mistakes, I'm wrong. So you see, now, and here we have, well, I can and I will. So try, this case, to avoid those words like you cannot, is wrong, because it affects to them. Something that I do is instead of pronouncing something, the most common mistake, I have 20 years old, and no, okay, just be instead of saying no, they're wrong, I say, okay, remember is I am. Okay, repeat after me, I am. Okay, just it's a little detail, but you did a great job. Okay, you notice the difference in this case? So it really affects in them. So talking about the classroom interaction, just a little bit about this, because this is a topic that we can talk during a lot of minutes, but just I'm going to mention this. It's important to mention that classroom interaction is the process of communication. So this is something that I was mentioned in advance about, the interaction, not all the time as a teachers talking, try to include our students in this case, okay? So that's why, for example, in some tasks, okay, get in teams or get in pairs, get in trios, okay? Do you have any question? Okay, please, fulanito, chuchito, tell me, what is the name of this one? Okay, try to not all the time as a teacher, because otherwise, if the students are all there. So, what kind of, this is some kind of interactions as group work, individual work, collaboration, and even sometimes students feel when they practice in English, in classmates, in pairs, because they feel comfortable, because it's totally different that they are up to talk in front of the class instead of they are just talk, in pairs, because, okay, he's my classmate and my friend, and she or he's my friend, okay, and it feels really cool. So I relate this one. This is something related about the interaction. So here you have teachers, me who clearly doesn't know the answers, other students, and kid with his hand raised. So, have you ever, I know that maybe in any occasion, we have those students that always participate, but in this case, it's important that try to provide different opportunities to the rest of the students, because even I've noticed that when the same students participate, what should I answer? So try to, that's why, I'm going to mention share some strategies that you can use in order to try to include everyone. Yeah. Okay, during the learning strategies, in this case, there are some factors. For example, individual factors that influence in their learning process. We have the physical and psychological, the affective, and the cognitive. Cognitive, in this case, means about mental process, okay? even Valcarcel mentions about this one, that to let your students participate, include, and in a mental process way. So those are the three individual factors that influence during the learning process. So learning depends on what the learner does, processes he or she uses when learning, and mention again the motivation. So another question for you, for the audience, teachers, try to, well, the rest participate. Have you ever applied any strategy, and that strategy or that activity is not working with your classroom? Have you ever have a bad experience about when you are happy as a teacher? So, okay, I'm going to do this activity with my students, and suddenly this activity, it doesn't work. Have you ever had this experience?
Me. It happens to me like 2 weeks ago. I was teaching of the verbs, regular verbs, like the ed sound. Okay. And I have a student who is like, I don't know how to say it in English, super aplicada. She understands everything like this. And that was super difficult for her. And he couldn't understand me. I mean, I was thinking way and another. Like, okay, whatever works.
Yes. Those are some, well, the situations that we face during in classes. And even, okay, if I use colors and it didn't work, okay, I have to find another dentist with a specific, for example, what is the most common, teacher, what is the most common, well, music that your students listen?
Yeah, actually, for example, for that class, like for homework, they had music to listen.
Yes, of course. So this is something that some different situations. So the processes that he or she uses when learning, what it influences what kind of activities, how does we share the knowledge. Okay, so it is going to impact in our students. So things that the learning depends on. So, well, what is another question to introduce this one? What is a learning strategy? What can you understand when you listen learning strategy? How could you define in your own words? What is a learning strategy? When you listen this one, how could you define this in your own words?
A learning strategy are some procedures, some different kind of things that a learner applies in order to get the knowledge that is around him or her.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Somebody else? Somebody else? Lindsay? So how could you define in your own words what is a learning strategy? How could you define? based on Rebecca Oxford. So, according to Rebecca Oxford, he finds in this learning strategy are specific actions taken there. In the case to learning easier, faster, more enjoyable, more self-directed, more effective, and more transferable to new situations. I'm sorry. So relate the knowledge in this case with the real world. Okay, with the real world, with in this case in a meaningful way, relate this the knowledge with something that they can find in their daily routines. Okay, so if we are checking, for example, community services. Okay, if we are we have to check first off the context. If we are in the city, okay, I have a lot of things to take into account. But what if I in a town? Okay, maybe just okay. So we have to consider this one at the moment to make this the lesson enjoyable. So mental processes, what I mentioned, abilities, so the interaction and the motivation. So here we have some ways and signaling and procedures, cognitive abilities, functional skills. Well known. Now, some characteristics of communicative, for learning strategies, in this case to develop the communicative competence. Okay, for example, through these strategies to provide this communicative competence, this is maybe one of the most difficult skills. In this case, the speaking, because some students, because lack of vocabulary, lack of confidence, teacher, I don't know, teacher, I don't want. So this is maybe one of the challenges that we have as teachers. And well, one other characteristic is autonomous learners, not always observable, involve many aspects of learning, not just the cognitive. This is what I mentioned, not only the mental process, or we can include the social, the affective, the compensative, etc. And wow, about the flexible, in this case, as a teachers, we adapt to our students, okay, not the students to us. So as a teacher, we have to adapt to the context, adapt about what we have. So this is something, okay. We have in the first image, I tried to implement a meme. This is something that is maybe catch students' attention. Why? Here we have in the first statement. So subject plus verb plus complement. Here we go, the example. Okay, this is like the most traditional that we use. Chuchin throws the cell phone. But what if I relate this with, something trendy? For example, about Bad Bunny. Okay, Bad Bunny throws my cell phone. It sounds much better. Okay, so here we have another example. This is about a TV program and Break It Josh. So Bad Bunny is better than Coldplay. Here we have the answer, the Greg's answer. Coldplay doesn't through the mobile from one of his fans. So this is something trendy. This is something that catch their attention. So maybe one of the problems, like as a teacher, is that okay, we have to catch on. Okay, so okay, what is the trendy? Where catch their attention? Okay, so here we have. Now I ask you this for you teachers. So suppose that you have this template. What can you include here using Drake meme or Drake Josh meme? What can you include, or what could you put here? What comes to your mind to share to your, and a specific topic to share with your students? Somebody? Nobody? Okay, so, well, this is just an example. That's what I mean when I mention that we have to make flexible with this one. So let's continue. So what if we want to share music? So here we have Camilo Sesto. Camilo Sesto, we had it about 30 years ago, 20 years ago, more or less. And well, if we put the music, for example, from The Weeknd, okay? So in this case, if I want to share, or if I want to apply, for example, music, in order to my students identify something. Okay, I know that Camilo Sesto is in Spanish, but this is just an example about the flexible that much better if they see this artist, because they are going to be like, okay, I know it's The Weeknd, or maybe it's Ariana Grande or Coldplay, or any artist that they like. Or Cartel de Santa, no? So for example, just those are some examples. And well, in this case, Rebecca Oxford classifies strategies in direct and indirect strategies, okay? And in this case, let's check it out about direct strategies. So in these direct strategies, we can include memory strategies, compensation strategies, and cognitive strategies, okay? So we have the indirect strategies, and there we have social strategies, affective strategies, metacognitive strategies, okay? It's important to mention that there are some other authors that divide, and they have different names, but I insist, okay? So let's start with the first one. Memory strategies, okay? So, well, here we have that specific techniques which help the learner to store and, when necessary, retrieve the stored information. I know that maybe memorize, well, sometimes help, for example, to learn regular, irregular verbs, but not all the time is necessary that they have purposes for some specific activities. It can be useful. And, we are going to check. So what kind of activities, for example, applying images and sounds, creating mental linkage, or employing the action. Okay, so those are some, for example, some activities about memory. And, okay, let's do this little exercise. Okay, so I'm going to try to look at this picture for a few seconds. Okay, try to look at each detail, okay, carefully. Okay, so you have 10 seconds. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, very good. Now, could you, who can tell me where is Bart? This is useful if you want to practice, in this case, prepositions. Okay, so tell me, who can tell me where is Bart? Somebody, Lydia, Noé, Christian. Where is Bart? Do you remember?
I might.
Yes. Nobody?
No.
I'm very bad at remembering.
Not very good. Yeah.
Okay, do you want that I put the image again?
Yeah, please.
Okay. There you go. 10 seconds more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, And okay, time's up. Where is Bart? Who can tell me?
He's next to Abraham.
You look at, you see what I mean? Okay, remember that prepositions below, behind, next to, under, etc. Now, the second one. Where is Lisa?
She's in front of Edna.
And
I don't know the other guy, but it's in front of Edna.
Yes, of course. And I'm not telling you that everybody likes The Simpsons, but this is just an example that maybe you can use in order to practice, in this case, prepositions. Okay, so let's continue. This was an example about memory strategies. So what about, in this case, what about cognitive strategies? Okay, remember, cognitive, it means about this mental process, and where are essentially operations used by the learner to obtain knowledge and understanding. Okay, so, well, maybe it can include the manipulation of the language to be more specific, in a direct way. So, for example, practicing, repeating, recognizing and using formulas and patterns, creating structure for input and output. So, in this case, you can practice a little bit of pronunciation in this part about repeating, okay? So recognizing and using formulas and patterns. You were checking, for example, the infinitive and gerunds. Okay, we have a certain and specific list of verbs. Okay, that use ing and to in this case the infinitive one. So maybe in this case about cognitive, because practice about repeating, and they in this case memorize the pronunciation, although it takes time, because it's not it's not easy in this case. It takes in this case takes a process. So this is something that I mentioned about when we check about the cognitive. Okay, you can just, for example, comparative, superlatives, okay, prepositions. So I use this, as I mentioned. This is something that maybe to your students catch attention. It's another different way to introduce the topic. It's different, not commonly grammar, not common that the traditional way. Okay, so compensation strategies, in this case about compensation strategies. Okay, your students don't know how to say a specific word. For example, that they, okay, is the teacher, is the, how do you say, is the this, and you say, okay, it. Oh, teacher, how do you say, is the teacher, ¿cómo se dice? Like, this action, this movement, swim, okay, so they try to, if they don't know, or maybe if they don't remember a specific word, they try to use specific gestures, movement, with this, like this movement, or like this, or, instead of say the word, they use their body language, their gestures, to try to ask, or to try to even they remember the word. Even I relate this with the TPR, because the TPR, this methodology is based on especially learn new vocabulary, but using gestures. Now, for example, if I am doing the most common, if I am doing this, what is this verb? What is this? What is this action?
Sleep.
Yes, of course. Now, where is this action? What is this verb? Nobody?
Swim.
Okay, swim. Very good. This one?
Sing.
Yes, of course. So you see, so using this kind of gestures, this kind of movements, is another way that that students can learn the new language. Okay, in this case, to facilitate the process for them. So, okay. What kind of activities, for example, using linguistic clues, using other clues, overcoming imitation in speaking and writing, switching to the mother tongue, getting help using meme or gesture. That isn't something that I have mentioned in advance. Okay, about the compensation, about using movements, using gesture, especially to help to our students recognize and identify and even remember the language. So about metacognitive, well, it's important to mention that cognitive and metacognitive are a little bit linked, because those are focused in this part about the mental process, how even the metacognitive about analyze, and for example, the students are concerned with how to learn or are reflecting. Okay, I think that one microphone is open. Okay, so these language learning strategies involve being aware and reflecting upon the learning process together with planning, arranging, and evaluating one's language. So remember that it's important in this case to, as a teacher said, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of the activity? What is the purpose of the task of the activity? What is the purpose of the topic? Okay, for example, if I say to my students, please, you have to create a dialogue, and I give them the vocabulary. Okay, okay. I told them that they have to create a dialogue, but for what? I have to say that task to practice the pronunciation, to improve practice fluency. Okay, try to, in this case, we have to set the goals that we have to we want to apply. Okay. So there we go. Learning from previous errors, rating self, evaluating tasks, setting goals and objectives, identifying the purpose of a language task. This is something that I mentioned a few seconds ago, about set and a specific purpose about, okay, why my students have to write sentences in simple present? Because they have to, for example, by the end of the lesson, my students will be able to create, to express, to identify sentences, regular and irregular verbs. Okay, you see what I mean? So that's what I mean about set goals and set that part. So we have the social strategies. Well, another question for you teachers about the social strategies. When you apply, for example, when you tell to your students getting pairs or getting trios, or you're going to work in teams, you tell to your students that they can work with their friends or with their classmates, or you try to mix them?
I try to use both. Sometimes they can choose. Sometimes I tell them who they need to be their partner with.
Yes, of course. So somebody else? Lydia, Noe, somebody?
Well, basically, I say that they can choose the person they want to work with. And sometimes I decide who they are going to talk to, because if they are just playing around while they're doing the activity, so I change, or I make them switch partners. That's what I do.
Yes, of course. So in this case, it's important to choose a little bit of both. Okay, so maybe that they can. Okay, guys, this time you choose, and okay, guys, in this time, I'm going to choose the team. And have you ever had problems when you, for example, when you design a team, when you choose the teams? Have you ever had problems that, no, teacher, I don't want to work with my classmate because I don't like him or I don't get on well with them? So have you ever had these problems?
Not now that I'm working with adults, but when I used to work with little kids, they tend to be like, no, I don't want to work. It's kind of difficult. Try to combine them, that they need to work together.
Okay. Somebody else?
Yeah, same thing. But I mean, technological, so but it still happens.
Yes, of course. So even I thought that maybe depends on the age of learners, but I've noticed something different that it doesn't, because, for example, I have some situations even in this level at a normal school that is, I work with preschool, so bachelor's degree. You're going to work with your classmate and with this classmate, and please, you have to go do this activity. And they're like, "No, teacher, I don't want. I want to work with my classmate." And I say, "But why? It's just an activity. It's not like she is going to be your friend." "No, teacher, I don't want." Okay, so I have to change. I have to find another different way to work with them. So some troubles in this case. These strategies are associated with the social behaviors involving other people. There we go. Participating in group conversation while pretending understand. Pretending real understanding, counting on friends for help, asking a friend questions, asking for clarification or asking for correction. Why? Because in this case, this part of socialize, if we try to introduce the topic instead of, okay, today, guys, we are going to check present simple and personal about daily routines, for example. And instead of introduce the topic like this, for example, we can use, okay, guess what? I wake up at 6 a.m. I wake up, and we use body language. I wake up at 6 a.m. What about you? And also they start, okay, I don't know how to say this in English, teacher. Okay, no problem. But little by little to introduce the topic in a different way. Okay, you see? And they can feel comfortable because you are not telling you, okay, we are checking this topic, these daily routines, and we have the structure, no? Okay, no, this is like a conversation club, a little kind of conversation club. Okay, what about I brush my teeth, I go to the gym, etc. Those are my daily routines. Okay, this is something that I do every day or twice a week, 3 times a week. You see what I mean? So it changed, and obviously it influences because they are not going to feel like stressed, like okay, nervous because they don't know what can they answer, you see? So here we have those one. For example, about if we share with our students about these questions, and maybe about, do you like dinosaurs? Can you rollerblade? Can you throw a football? Okay, but using in this case the specific topic, it depends on what do we want to check. And another different way, okay, to design if we want to work in teams, in trios, in pairs. Okay, so you are like, you have your students in the classroom and you start selecting, okay, you're going to be a hamburger, you're going to be a soda, you're going to be friendships. And they, maybe at the beginning, they can be like, what? Am I a hamburger? Okay, but okay, you continue. Hamburger, soda, and like this. Okay, try to find your Mac trio. Try to find your dices, and maybe, okay, none and par. Okay, that maybe led to your students throw their dices. Okay, and par and non, and all the in another team. Okay, this is vegetables. Okay, for example, Chuchito, you're a fruit. Juanito, vegetables, fruit, vegetables, fruit, vegetables. Okay, all the fruits are going to be this, and all the vegetables are going to be in this part. You see, this is another different way, and they choose a fruit. Okay, I want to be an orange. You can start doing